Calm Cool Collected is easily one of Zane's coolest and just strongest skills that he has available to him. And unlike Futility Belt, this is a green tree skill that I can say is one of Zane's best skills without the addendum of if it worked correctly, because Calm Cool Collected does in fact work correctly and does exactly what it says it does. And yet, despite that, this is a skill that you will probably never use yourself. It's a skill that you will probably never see be used, and it's a skill that there really never is a purpose to use. First though, let's quickly go over what it is and what it does. Calm Cool Collected is a tier 5 skill within Zane's green tree. It is a single point skill and has 3 major effects to it. When you freeze an enemy, you start to regen your shield. If your shield is full, you gain health regeneration for a short time. If your health is full, then your skill cooldowns or duration will be reset. Now, all of these options are pretty damn good. The shield recharge is just based on your shield recharge delay. The health regeneration is 3% max health regen per second with a duration of 3 seconds to it. So it's a total of 9% of your max health that will be regenerated over the duration of a single activation. Or of course, it just 100% resets the duration of your action skills, or if your action skills are currently down, it will reset the cooldown of them, making them immediately available. Of course, being in green tree, this is meant to have very strong synergy with your barrier, as barrier will let you keep your health and shield pretty much topped off always, and as long as your health and shields are topped off, you will be perpetually resetting your action skill duration whenever you freeze something, which of course green tree also has a lot of synergy with freezing, most notably with brain freeze for very consistent freeze applications, but as well best serve cold and refreshment are also skills that can synergize here, as well as ready for action benefiting the shield regen since it buffs your shield recharge rate, and adrenaline benefiting from you being at perpetually full shields. Calm Cool Collected is so well designed within the context of the tree that it's in, and it has so much synergy within it, and it's just such an interesting and cool skill that it is genuinely surprising that it is not the capstone of this tree. However, with that being said, that would actually make it even worse, because the single biggest issue with Calm Cool Collected is how much of a point investment it is within Zane's undoubtedly worst skill tree. But before getting into that, let's quickly talk about the history of this skill, because shockingly enough, and it will probably come as a surprise to most people, but for a time, Zane's meta actually did almost entirely revolve around Calm Cool Collected. That time, however, was pretty much exclusively on release. Zane has had a very rocky history, starting out as easily the single worst Vault Hunter in Borderlands 3, and now being, well, probably still the worst Vault Hunter in Borderlands 3, but now he can use Hustler Eraser to commit atrocities not seen from the Irish since 1921, or 1991 if we're counting the birth of Ed Sheeran. Prior to the age of Zane's See Undead class mod and later the Mantis Cannon, Calm Cool Collected was really the only method that Zane had to keeping his action skills up indefinitely. This wasn't required for builds later on as buffs came through, but in those earlier days, before more of the more impactful changes hit, Calm Cool Collected was an absolute savior, letting Zane hide away in his bubble forever to keep his kill stills up more consistently and his pasty ass out of fight for your life, which was and still is often a death sentence. But nowadays though, Calm Cool Collected is still an undeniably incredible skill, it just doesn't fit into Zane's modern meta whatsoever. It's a very outdated skill. Kill stills were made more consistent across the board. The See Undead and the Spy are 2 class mods he has access to now that let him indefinitely upkeep skills through good misfortune, a skill in his blue tree which is of course far more accessible and not at all out of the way for most of his builds, usually also similarly only requiring 1 point at minimum but being able to have more put in. His Mantis Cannon allows for kill stall spam even without those specific class mods, so while not indefinite uptime, you do still get more than enough for pretty much any mobbing situation. Mantis also interacts incredibly favorably with borrowed time, letting you stack it up to 5 for even more skill uptime, and Zane just being a hell of a lot better at just about everything in general. As I said earlier, I think you could definitely argue that Zane is still the weakest Vault Hunter in 3, but across the board, the BL3 Vault Hunters are all incredibly good. Zane really just suffers in the build diversity department when compared to the others, most of that stemming from his green tree being utter dog shit. And quick refresher, where is Calm Cool Collected located? guessing? That's right, the green tree, the source of all of his issues. And again, very, very deep in it at tier 5. Requiring at minimum 21 points of investment to get all the way down to, which is points that could be significantly better spent in his blue tree, in his purple tree, or even his red tree, because every single other option that he has to spend 21 points into is better than spending it that deep into green. And once again, Comcool Collected itself, for that investment, doesn't really offer a hell of a lot that you can't gain elsewhere, or that Zane even relies on anymore. The only thing in the modern era of BL3 that Comcool Collected can be useful for is the Conductor class mod. However, even in the one build that I actually do run a Conductor on, because nowadays that class mod also isn't that great, I don't even use Comcool Collected because it is such a heavy point investment, and just slapping a point or two into Good Misfortune fits in significantly more and is more than enough uptime for any situation ever. You are currently and have been seeing footage of the only build that I have that actually specs Comcool Collected, and it goes out of its way to spec Comcool Collected just to use it. This was while I was trying to test a way to actually make green tree somewhat viable and somewhat worth it, and this is the best use of it, where it's kind of just a generic Zane build with an executor but specking green tree instead of going as heavy into other shit. And like, yeah, it works, and it works fine, but it's significantly weaker than any other normal build that does not go Comcool Collected. And you can do exactly what you are watching me do with a double active executor build way better by just using a more generic skill spec. Simply put, Comcool Collected is an incredibly cool and an incredibly strong skill. It's a very interesting skill, and it's really fun to play around. It's one of my favorite skills in this game, and I think it's so perfectly designed to fit within green tree. Every issue that it has nothing to do with it itself. It's just the fact that it exists within Zane's green tree, a tree that provides him next to nothing in terms of damage, and not nearly enough to be worthwhile in terms of utility. And unfortunately, deep in the depths of it hides one of Zane's coolest fucking skills, that in the modern age kind of just acts as a relic to a very brief period in Zane's past. That's gonna about do it for this one though. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, definitely consider leaving a like, comment, subscribe, all of that. I'll be live right after this video goes up, right here on YouTube, and also over on my Twitch channel, where there'll be a link to down in the description below, and just under that is a link to my Discord server where you can come and join and hang out. But with that all being said, I hope to see you guys in the next one.